today because we are beginning a brand new message series today entitled WISER. And so if you're here for the first time, you could not have come on a better Sunday because this is the beginning of a series. As I mentioned last week, it's always better to catch the series at the beginning than in the middle, or it's always better to jump on a plane when it's taking off or before it takes off, instead of trying to jump on a plane when it's already in the air. And so I thank God that you are here today, and I believe that God is going to use this message to really speak to your life, to really prepare you for the future. The thought behind the series is leveraging past mistakes to create a better future. Leveraging past mistakes to create a better future. In other words, you don't have to waste bad mistakes. You can waste bad mistakes if you choose to, but you don't have to waste bad mistakes. You can use them to create a better future. Or another way of saying it is making sure that the next time is better than the last time. Making sure that the next time is better than the last time. Sister Kennard, she makes this cake. It's a pound cake. I've tasted many pound cakes before, but I've never tasted a pound cake like Sister Kennard's pound cake. It is one special pound cake. And so I told Sister Kennard, I said, Sister Kennard, I love your pound cake. I want to try to make your pound cake myself. Can you help me make the same pound cake that you made? And Sister Kennard said, sure. She sent me two things. She sent me the recipe and she sent me the instructions. Those are two separate things. It's important that we get that. I'm going to get back to that. She sent me the recipe or the ingredients, and she also sent me the instructions. Today, I'm going to give you a question. This question that I give you today is a question that if you use this question, it will help you or enable you to leverage past mistakes to create a better future. Or it will help you to make sure that next time is better than the last time. Now, for Sister Kennard, in the recipe that she gives me the ingredients, and one of the ingredients that Sister Kennard uses is flour. She uses flour. Flour is one of the ingredients that she uses. Her ingredients come in sets of 7. I think it's 7 this, 7 that, 7 eggs, 7 something of flour. But it comes in sets of 7. But one of the ingredients that she uses is flour. And I want to use this ingredient to kind of tease out this question that I believe will absolutely change your life. And so we're going to use this ingredient that Sister Kennard uses called flour. Flour, just stay with me, for the purpose of this illustration, represents your life. All right? Flour represents your life. Now, there are other things that you need to make a cake besides the ingredients. All right? So you have to have your utensils. You have to have your tools. One of the tools that you need is a strainer or a sifter. All right? And so this sifter right here represents the question that I'm going to give to you. This sifter is designed to sift out the lumps in the flour. And so as you hit the sifter, you'll notice the flour goes into the bowl, but there are some things that does not go into the bowl, and that are these lumps. These lumps represent mistakes. These lumps represent mistakes that you will make in the future, but it also represents mistakes that you don't have to make in the future. Now, what's going to help you to not make these mistakes, because you don't have to make mistakes. Don't believe, I mean, there are some mistakes that are unavoidable, but there are some mistakes that are avoidable. There are some mistakes that you can eliminate from your life, but you have to learn how to sift your life through the right process to eliminate those mistakes. And this question that I'm going to give to you today is a question that's designed to help you to sift through the mistakes so that you don't have to make these mistakes. And so you can either sift through and remove the lumps ahead of time, or you can continue to move forward and end up with the lumps upside your head. The choice is absolutely yours. And so we need to learn how to be wiser. That's the title of today's message, how to be wiser. And so I asked Sister Kennard, I said, Sister Kennard, can you help me make this cake? And so Sister Kennard gave me the ingredients, she gave me the instructions. I took Sister Kennard's ingredients and I made a cake that did not taste like Sister Kennard's cake. The reason why my cake did not taste like Sister Kennard's cake was I used her ingredients, but I did not follow her instructions.
Okay.
Are you guys with me?
Yeah.
See, both are important. You can have all of the right ingredients, but if you don't follow instructions, then you cannot expect for things to turn out right.
Yes.
And so the first time that I made the cake, it did not taste like Sister Kennard's cake because I did not follow the instructions. The second time I made the cake, it tasted just like Sister Kennard's cake because I used the right ingredients and I also followed her instructions. And so what happened was I learned from my past mistakes, and now I made a cake that tastes like Sister Kennard's pound cake. I don't like following instructions. I really don't. I have this model car that I started putting together over a year ago at the house. And I got ahead of myself. The instructions were there, Brandon. They had all of the instructions. They were there, but I didn't want to follow the instructions because I could see how this thing is supposed to go. And so I got ahead of myself, and then later on I found myself in trouble because I had extra pieces. And I didn't know where those extra pieces were supposed to go because I had got ahead of myself. And so now the project is just stuck. And what I have to do is I have to take the whole thing apart and start all over again because I did not follow instructions. Instructions are for people who want to get it right the first time. Are you guys with me? Instructions are for people who want to get it right the first time. We've all had experiences with putting things together, toys, after Christmas time, putting toys together for our children, and then we realized later on that we didn't do it right, so we had to reassemble the whole thing. And so to reassemble or to redo a cake is not as painful as to reassemble your life. There are some mistakes that you can make in life that if you keep making these mistakes over and over and over again, it can be very, very painful. And so there are some things that we want to get right the first time. It's not such a big deal when it comes to cake. It's not such a big deal when it comes to assembling a car. But when it comes to certain relationships, when it comes to your finances, when it comes to your health, there are things that you don't want to keep on repeating over and over and over again. But there are so many people, so many of us who do not learn from our mistakes, and we keep repeating the same things over and over and over again. You might have heard the story of the boy who kept hitting his head against the wall. He just kept hitting his head against the wall. And finally somebody asked him, why do you keep hitting your head against the wall? And he paused and he said, because it feels so good when I stop. And many of us are just like this boy who keeps hitting his head against the wall. We are disconnecting the pain from our choices. We're not drawing a connection. There is a connection between the pain that you're experiencing today and the choices that you made in the past. But here's what's true about you, and here's what's true about me. Here is something that all of us have in common. We are more likely to learn from our mistakes in the areas that matter the least. When it comes to building or putting together a toy, when it comes to games, even when it comes to pocket dialing. You know how this phone back in the days, they used to pocket dial, and we've learned how to lock the phone now, right? Because we've called people, we've said things about people, and they heard us, and we didn't want them to hear it. And we learned from those mistakes. We learn from mistakes in areas of life that matter the least. But we repeat mistakes in the areas of life that matter the most. Areas of life like the relationships, like our finances, like our health. These are the areas of life that we continue to repeat our mistakes. And then after we start to experience the pain, after the pain becomes so great and it's so unbearable, and we look in the mirror, we see all these lumps and these knots upside of our head, we ask ourselves the also important question: when will I learn? When will I learn? When am I going to get my act together? Why do I keep on repeating the same mistakes over and over again? Listen, life has enough unavoidable pain. In other words, if you did everything right, you're still going to experience pain in life. So why invite unnecessary pain into our lives? All of our regrets, every single regret that we are experiencing today can be traced back to a choice that we made in the past. And so what is it? What is it that gets in the way of us leveraging our past mistakes to create a better future? What is it that gets in the way of us becoming wiser? I'll tell you what it is. The most common thing that gets in the way of you and I becoming wiser are the lies that we tell ourselves. That's the most common thing that gets in the way of us becoming wiser. It's the lies that we tell ourselves. And guess what? Not only do we tell ourselves these lies, but we also believe the lies. And there are a ton of lies that we tell ourselves that we believe, but I just want to point out two very, very common lies that we tell ourselves that get in the way of us becoming wiser. The first lie is this: it's going to be different this time because I know better. It's going to be different this year. I can tell some of you told yourself, you didn't say it out loud, but you kind of believe that in your mind. And it's going to be different this time because I know better. That is a lie. That is not necessarily true. There is no direct connection between knowing better and doing better. Let me give you an example. I know that if I put certain foods into my body, there is a chance that I'm going to get certain diseases. But I put those foods into my body anyway. There are people who know, it's been proven, there are all types of statistics that prove that if you smoke cigarettes, there is a chance you're at a greater risk of developing lung cancer. People know that. But they still smoke cigarettes. Just because you experience something in one season of life does not mean that you are prepared in the next season. Experience alone does not prepare you. Stay with me. Experience alone does not prepare you. Evaluated experience is what prepares you. And we're going to really dig into that next Sunday, evaluating your experience. What did you learn from last time that's going to help you to avoid making the same mistakes the next time? Second lie that we believe, we tell ourselves and we believe this, is that I'm running out of time. Time is against me. The clock is ticking. I'm running out of time. Everybody at this age does it. I'm going to miss out on an opportunity. Of all of the lies that we can tell ourselves, this is the most destructive lie. Time is not your enemy. If you're just leaving from one mistake and you're experiencing the pain of that one mistake, the last thing you need to do is jump off into another experience or another opportunity. When you're going through the pain or the hurt or the difficulty of a past bad mistake, time is not your enemy. Time is your friend. Somebody say, time is my friend. Time is your friend. And the reason why this is so important is because when you're recovering from a bad mistake, you are off balance. And the last thing you need to do when you're off balance is to make another life choice or another important life choice. You need to pause and reflect. You need to take your time. Emotional temperature is just like real temperature. It's the same. And with a temperature, you know temperatures go up and they go down. Temperatures go up and they go down. But you know, just like I know, that it goes up a lot faster than it comes down. And so after a painful first round, you're dealing with a lot of emotional hurt. You're dealing with a lot of pain, and you're carrying some hurt. You're carrying some jealousy. You're carrying some anger, some bitterness, some confusion, and some other things that you don't even know is there. And here's what's true of you and what's true of me. When we're experiencing pain, we become self-absorbed. You know that this is true. I know that this is true. When you are experiencing pain, you become self-absorbed. If you have a migraine or one of those sinus headaches or a real bad toothache, the last thing you want anybody to do to you is ask you a question, a difficult question, or ask you to do something for them because you are experiencing intense pain. And when you're experiencing pain, you become self-absorbed. It is just the nature of pain. I know a little bit about pain. One of the most painful things that I ever experienced in my physical body was when I got a disease called meningitis. You think a migraine is painful? You think a sinus headache is painful? You think a toothache is painful? I've never experienced pain like the pain that came from this meningitis. And I'm a person, I have a high tolerance for pain. In fact, I dealt with this pain for probably close to a month. And then it just started to get worse and worse. It wasn't getting better. And I hate going to the hospital. I hate going to the doctors because all they want to do is give you more medicine. And then you get stressed out because you're in there waiting. And you start thinking about the bad news that you're going to get. So I try to avoid going to the doctor and to the hospital with everything that I have in me. And so the fact that I went to the doctor was a demonstration or an example or proof that I was in a whole lot of pain. Went to the doctor first. The doctor ran a CAT scan. He says, we see swelling on your brain. At that time, they didn't know that it was meningitis. So they gave me some medication for the swelling on my brain. It did not ease up the pain. One night, Lori said, you need to go to the emergency. We went to the emergency. They did a spinal tap, and they found out that I had meningitis. And I've been dealing with this meningitis for all of that time. But you're talking about excruciating pain. And I was so self-absorbed. I didn't want to help anybody. I didn't want to hear about anybody else's problems because the pain had rendered me to where all I could think about was my pain and what I was going through. And so we know that this is true in physical pain, but it's also true in emotional pain, but we just don't recognize it as easy. And I'll show you where you see this at. If you have a friend that's going through something very tough emotionally, the conversation will always at some point end up on what it is that they're going through tough emotionally. And that's okay. We all need somebody to enter into our pain with us. All of us need somebody to enter into our pain with us. But here's what I want you to get from this. When you are in pain, you are self-absorbed. When you are self-absorbed, listen to this, self-absorbed people make self-absorbed decisions. The second most painful thing I've ever experienced in my physical body is something that I'm going through right now. A lot of you guys don't know this. I've been dealing with a pain in my hips that started in my hips and went down all the way through my legs for almost 2 months. Same thing. Did not want to go to the doctor because I just don't want to deal with all the stuff that's associated with going to the doctor. Last Sunday, my friend Ryder, he says, Pastor, he called me up about the clear blue, and it sounded like I could just, it almost sounded like God was calling me. I kid you not. It sounded like God. He's a God. He calls me up about the clear blue. He says, Pastor, you need to go to the hospital. I said, I don't want to go to no hospital and be in there all night. He says, there's a hospital right by my house. He says, you can get in there and get out real fast. So I went out to San Dimas, went to the hospital. They did an x-ray, and they diagnosed me with something called sciatica. So here's what sciatica is. Sciatica, for me, what they noticed in the x-ray was that my spine, there's a certain portion of your spine that should be curved. Mine is straight, which means that my spine is pressing down on a nerve. And because it's pressing down on that nerve, it's sending sharp pain through my legs. I didn't think, okay, sciatica, my spine, what does that have to do with my legs? Telling the doctors, well, it's not really my back sometimes, but it's mostly my legs, and it happens at night when I'm sleeping. He says, no, it's sciatica. So, here's where I'm going with this. It doesn't hurt real bad all the time. It hurts really bad at night. Really bad. And it hurts really bad in the morning. And so when the pain is running through my leg, and the doctor says, what is the level of the pain? From 1 to 10, it's 15. When the pain is running through my leg, I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't want to help nobody. Because what's going on is I am so in pain that all I can think about is the pain. Now, at that moment, here's the point that I'm making. At that moment, if somebody came to me and they said, I can make the pain go away, but I have to cut your leg off. If they came to me at the moment that I was experiencing that pain, my decision would be cut my leg off. That's how bad the pain is. But if they come to me right now, because the pain is not bad right now. If they come to me right now and they ask me, do I want them to cut my leg off? I'm going to say no. Because I'm not in pain. You guys get the point that I'm making. Pain makes us self-absorbed. Self-absorbed people make self-absorbed decisions. And so consequently, right after experiencing pain in round one is not the time to make another important life decision. You need to allow your emotional temperature to come down before you make another life decision. Time, it feels like, is your enemy, but time is your friend. Time is your friend. So I told you guys that I have this question, right? Remember the sifter, I have this question that if you ask this question, it's going to prepare you to make next time better than the last time. But before we get to this question that's going to help you to sift out all of the unnecessary lumps in life, let's look at Paul's advice to the Ephesians. Now, a lot of times when people come to church, I know some people, they like, I believe the whole Bible, I'm sold out, I believe the Bible is the Word of God. And then you have people in the church who are like, you know what, it's kind of outdated, I don't know if I can trust all of the Bible. If that's you, some people don't trust the Bible at all. They like the whole religious experience, coming to church, feeling emotional when the praise team sings. They like all of it, but they don't trust the Bible at all. I want you just for a moment, don't think the Bible. I want you to think about this man, the Apostle Paul, who was a historical figure that really did exist. Nobody denies that the Apostle Paul really existed and that he was a key figure in the Christian movement. And you should listen to the Apostle Paul. And the reason why you should listen to the Apostle Paul is because the Apostle Paul did not come on the scene as a Christ follower. He didn't come onto the page of Scripture as someone who followed Jesus Christ. He actually came on the scene as one who was determined to rid the entire world of Christianity. Because at that time, Christianity was viewed as a knockoff faith or a knockoff sect of Judaism, and it was just a thorn in the Jews' side. And so Paul felt like God called him to wipe the world, rid the world of all Christians. And then one day, out of nowhere, he went from killing Christians or persecuting Christians or going after Christians to actually becoming a Christian. And so let me put this in perspective. If you know anything about football, the NFL, you know that the Cowboy fans hate the Redskin fans. They hate each other. Cowboy fans hate Redskin fans. If you know anything about football, you know that. This would be like a Cowboy fan on his way to the game. And they're getting ready to play the Redskins. And while he's on his way to the game, he becomes a Redskin fan. But even more than that, when he gets to the game, he tries to convince all of the Cowboy fans to become Redskin fans. A real Cowboy fan would say it would take an act of God for something like that to happen. And that's exactly what the Apostle Paul would tell you is what happened with him when he was converted from trying to persecute and rid the world of Christians to becoming a Christian. A person like this you need to listen to. And so he writes this letter to the Ephesian church. We're not going to look at the entire letter, but I do want you to key in on one portion of this letter, which is found in Ephesians chapter 5. Here's what the Apostle Paul says. He says, be very careful how you live. That's what he says. Be very careful how you live. Don't miss that. He says, be very careful how you live. The word live, this little word live, could also be translated walk. And the word be careful is a visual picture. And what Paul is saying is that as you walk through life, you need to be careful. You need to look up. You need to look to the left. You need to look to the right. You need to look to behind you. You need to look around. And being careful means that you watch out and make sure that you don't step on something or step in something that you don't want to step in. Okay. In other words, if you're walking around on the grass and you know that dogs are in the area and dogs are regulars in that area, you need to look around and make sure you don't step in something. Right. That's the picture that Paul is painting for us. He says, be very careful how you live. And then he says, not as unwise. He says, not as unwise, but as wise. And what Paul is doing is he's equating unwise with being careless. Are you guys with me? This is the most important part. I'm talking about the Bible now. Forget about all the other stuff. I'm talking about the Bible now, right? We're breaking this verse down. What he's doing is he's equating unwise with being careless. And wise with being careful. Unwise is do whatever, whenever, with whoever, and don't care about the consequences. Okay. Wise is you're careful. You're looking at where you're going. You're paying attention. Am I going in the right direction? Am I paying attention to what's on the floor to make sure that I don't step in anything that I don't want to step in? Am I looking up? Am I looking down? Am I looking around? He says, not as unwise, but as wise. And then he says, making the most of every opportunity. Why? Because the days are evil. That's what Paul wrote to the Ephesian church. If Paul was writing a letter to this church, he would say the same thing, making the most of every opportunity. Why? Because the days are evil. That word opportunity can also be translated time. And what Paul is saying is, you need to be careful how you spend your time. That you need to be careful and make sure that you are not wasting time. And he said, because the days are evil. What Paul is saying is that if you lift your feet up and just move with the flow of the culture, that you're going to find yourself in a place that you do not want to be. That if you lift your feet up and just move with the flow of the culture, that's how you end up paying child support. That if you lift your feet up and just move with the flow of culture, that's how you end up with baby mama drama. That if you lift up your feet and just move with the flow of culture, that's how you end up with funny money problems. That if you lift your feet up and just move with the flow of culture, that's how you end up in prison. That if you lift your feet up and move with the flow of culture, that's how you end up hooked on drugs. What Paul is saying is, you have to be very, very careful. You have to make the most of every single opportunity. Because if you do not, and you just move with the flow of culture, you are going to end up somewhere that you do not want to be. That's what the Apostle Paul is saying. Then he goes on to say, therefore, do not be foolish. If he was talking in plain language, he said, don't be stupid. Don't be stupid. Don't do stupid stuff. He says, do not be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is. In other words, you know better. He's talking to Christians. You know better. You don't need the pastor to tell you this. You know better. Don't keep talking yourself into doing things that you know that you should not do.
Right.
And don't keep talking yourself out of doing things that you know that you should do. Paul is saying you know better. Don't be stupid. Because you know what the Lord's will is. You haven't read the Bible from cover to cover, but you know it's wrong to put something in your pocket that don't belong to you.
Right, right.
You know it's wrong. You know it's wrong to put your hands on somebody. You know it's wrong to talk bad about somebody. Nobody needs to tell you that. He says you need to know what the will of the Lord is. Don't be foolish. So what is the question? Gotta get to the question, right? Gotta get to the question. What is the question that we can ask that's gonna help us become wise and not unwise? What is the question that we can ask that's gonna help us to become wiser? And so here's what I want to do. When I say ask the question, you're gonna ask the question. So ask the question, what is the wise thing to do? Simple question, right? You're like, man, you had us waiting all this time for that question right there. This question right here is a very powerful question. You know, just like I know, that if you would have asked this question the right way 10 years ago, you would not be dealing with half of the regret that you're dealing with right now.
That's right. Amen.
Now watch this. It's not what is the legal thing to do. This question is better than that. As a pastor, I get people all the time they ask me questions about what they're trying to figure out is how can they go as far to the edge without crossing over the line. And they're saying, well, in the Bible, does it prohibit you from doing this or doing that? And what they're looking for is a loophole. Every religion has a loophole, including Christianity. All religions have a loophole. whole. And so the question is not whether or not you can do it. More than likely you can do it. But the real question is this: what is the wise thing to do? Ask the question.
What is the wise thing to do?
That was weak. Let's try it again. Ask the question.
What is the wise thing to do?
Ooh, that's still kind of weak. We're going to do this one more time. Ask the question.
What is the wise thing to do?
That was a whole lot better. Now, to unpack this question, we're going to look at it from 3 angles. Are you guys with me? I'm almost done. Don't check out now. It's important. I'm about to drive this thing home. We're going to look at this from 3 angles. Past, present, future. Let's say past, present, future. Ask the question. Y'all getting better. All right, so let's break this thing down. In light of what I have experienced in the past, this is what makes it personal, right? Even if you don't know the Bible, you can still stay with me here. Even if you're not a Christian, you can still stay with me here. In light of what I have experienced in the past, remember the last time you dated a roughneck? Remember that? The last time you dated a roughneck, I don't know what they call them today, but back in my generation, the girls said, I want a roughneck. They made a song like that, I want a roughneck. Bad boy, whatever you want to call it. Remember the last time you dated a bad boy? Remember the last time you allowed your emotions to lead you into that business deal? Remember the last time that the only thing that you were concerned about was that her body was banging? You remember the last time, in light of your past experiences, or in light of what you have experienced in the past, ask the question. You gotta stay with me. You can't check out. This is important stuff. This is gonna save you a whole lot of headache. It's gonna save you a whole lot of lumps. You gotta sift all of your decisions through this question. Present. Let's move into the present. Taking into account my current circumstances. See, you might have enough time to go out, but my circumstances say I do not. You might have some money to spend on that, but my circumstances say I do not. I'm married now. I'm trying to raise my children right now. I'm saving for a home right now. I'm saving to buy a car right now. In light of taking into account, considering your present circumstances, ask the question.
What is the wise thing to do?
You gotta learn how to use this question right here. See, this is better than whether or not I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. When I get paid, I have enough money to do pretty much anything I want to do. But the real question is, what is the wise thing to do? Taking into account my current circumstances, the fact that I am saving up to buy some property, the fact that I am saving up to get out of debt, in light of my current circumstances, what is the wise thing to do? And then lastly, based on what I want my life to look like in the future. Ooh, this is a good one. Based on what I want my life to look like in the future, that I want to be healthy. I don't want to be an old person wobbling around at 55 years old, needing somebody to take care of me. I don't want to be living with my mama when I'm 45 years old. I don't want to be in another bad relationship that's not working. I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be sad. In light of what I want my future, based on what I want my future to look like, ask the question.
What is the wise thing to do?
See, this is where personal vision is extremely important. You have to have personal vision. Personal vision is you knowing what you want your life to look like in the future. See, personal vision provides direction. You cannot know for sure if you're going in the right direction if you don't know where you're going in the first place.
Right.
What do you want your life to look like in the future? Not what your mother wants your life to look like. Not what your teacher, your auntie, your peers. It's what you want your life to look like in the future. See, if we get this part crystal clear, if we know the answer to this question, we'll say no to a lot of people. That disqualifies a lot of men, women. That disqualifies a lot of women, men. Because they don't match up. They don't fit in with where you are going in the future. Taking into consideration, basing your decisions on where you are going in the future. Listen to this. Personal vision. Personal vision. A clear personal vision is a springboard for making wise decisions. So ask the question.
What is a wise thing to do?
Now, as I close, let's bring all of this together. We're going to put this question together. We're going to put this together, right? Let's look at this. In light of what I've experienced in the past, taking into account my current circumstances, and based on what I want my life to look like in the future, what is the wise thing to do? We're going to keep visiting this question right here because I believe that this question right here is going to save you a whole lot of heartache. If you were paying attention, here's what you know. If you would have asked this question a long time ago, you wouldn't have some of the scars that you're wearing today.
Okay, you didn't say that.
If you would have asked this question a long time ago, that goal that you just keep talking about and it's not really happening, you just keep talking about it,
Yeah.
you would have achieved that goal by now.
Mm-hmm.
You would be out of debt right now. You wouldn't even be in debt because you would have never financed that car in the first place. You knew your current circumstances was not rendering you to finance a car, but you did it anyway. You did it anyway because you could do it.
Yeah.
See, that's what gets us in trouble. I could do it, especially when you turn 18 years old. I'm grown. Can't nobody tell me what to do. I remember having this conversation with a young man when he turned 18 years old. I said, what is going on, man? Why are you living your life like that? He said, I'm just doing what everybody else does at my age. He even told me, I'm doing what you did at my age. I don't know who told him that lie, but whatever. Because when I was 18 years old, I was taking care of a family of 5. But somebody told him that lie, and he believed that lie, that because he's 18, he can do what everybody else his age is doing. Fast forward, at 30, he's still a whole lot behind than other 30-year-olds. See, when we compare ourselves with the people in our circle, we are missing out on a whole lot from people that's on the other side of the freeway in another circle. I can find 5 people and make myself feel real good about where I'm at in life. But I can also find 5 people that can make me feel real bad about where I'm at in life. So it's not about what everybody else is doing.
That's right.
You just need to ask the question. What is the wise thing to do? Now I'm going to give you some homework. I rarely ever give out homework. But this homework is real simple. This is the homework. The homework, all you want to do for your homework is Ask the question. That's it. Now look, you don't even have to respond the right way to the question. You can ask the question and still end up doing something stupid. It's not even what I'm asking you to do. The homework is just ask the question. What is the wise thing to do? What did Paul say? He said, be very careful how you live. Not as unwise, but as wise. Making the most of every opportunity. Making the most of every opportunity. Why? Because the days evil. We live in evil days. But you can be wiser. We are just beginning. Let's pray together. Father, in the name of Jesus, you are awesome, Lord. You said if any man or woman lacks wisdom, they should ask you. And you'll give liberally, Lord, but you'll give cheerfully, that you won't hold back when it comes to giving wisdom if we would ask for it. And so, Lord, for many of us, wisdom is already there. It's readily available for us. We already know right from wrong. Now we just need to sift our decisions through this question. Not what I can get away with, not what's legal, but Lord, in light of my past experiences, in view of my current circumstances, and based on what I want my life to look like in the future, what is the wise thing to do? Let the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight. In Jesus' name, amen, amen, amen.